Welcome Internet. Today on Bread to Love we are going to be installing a 2500 watt 110 volt inverter in the ambulance. Here you can see that I've installed it already. Got our massive positive lead going into this 150 amp fuse block and then to the inverter, and then we have our ground back there. We have a wired remote control. It's that white line right there. It's a 4-pin cable phone line connector that goes up to the cabin. Then we have a master 110 volt plug that distributes the 110 volt power throughout the ambulance. So obviously you see it's already been installed, but let's go back a few months ago and check out the installation process. So as you might have been able to tell, we used to have an inverter in here. It was a 3500 watt modified sine wave, but we learned quickly that it didn't run some appliances as efficiently as possible, like the microwave, which sounded like death, and also a battery backup wouldn't function because of the square waveform. So to remedy that, we have a pure sine wave inverter now. When installing an inverter that's over about 500 watts, you always want to have really thick gauge cables going to the DC connections, and we have that right here. And then also you want to install a fuse, and we have an A&L fuse holder, and we use these 150 amp A&L fuses, which goes right there and provides an easy way for a fuse link. Alright, to begin the installation, we're going to take that and we're going to put it on this board, and we will be securing it with these nice little rubber pads here. And this is a vibration damper to protect the sensitive electronics inside the inverter. So all four corners, it's going to be screwed down with these as a buffer. So first connection done, positive leg coming from the fuse holder and into the inverter. Alrighty, all four screws and dampers are on. Now she's secured down. Alright, we got both main power connections going into the back of the inverter. So now we can flip it around to its side where its final position will be, and then we can hook up this power tap right here to complete the connection and then screw it in. Alright, so we got her in. She is all screwed down from the bottom. Got the dampers on, got the grounding cable on. Now all that's left to do is to attach this guy right there, pop in a fuse, and we'll see if she works. Okay, to get the inverter remote line up to the cabin, we had to run it through this pre-existing hole where a bunch of other cables are going through, and even to get it through, had to cut the line like so. This is just a standard phone cable line, so it's pretty easy to make a new end for it and strip the wires, and that's what we will be doing next. So here's the other end of the remote line to turn the inverter on and off. Just a simple phone jack port with a push button switch and a little indicator light. Now to make a new end, we're going to be using these sorts of telecommunications tools. We have a multimedia tester. This does voice, data, tone, video, a ton of different cabling options, and this will just tell us that our installation is 100% correct and able to carry signal. And then to make the actual end and crimp it on, we're going to be using this crimp tool, and then we have a bunch of brand new ends in there. You see some Ethernet and phone line. So this crimping tool will, when the wires are slid into here, it will press down the little copper gates and connect the wires to these metal pins. What's up, dudes? It's a few weeks later, and I got the parts in to finally finish installing the 2500 watt inverter. So the inverter uses this remote cable here, and unlike our last inverter, this one is a hard line, and it uses this 4-pin connector, as you can see right here. So there's 4 wires, orange with a white stripe, blue, and blue with a white stripe. And looks like a standard telephone or Ethernet cable, but it's only 4-pin instead of 6 or 8. So if you have the same problem, what you're looking for is an RJ9 connector plug. I got this pack of 100 off Amazon for about $10. And then crimping tool, also about $10. So this will pretty much set me up for life for any other remote lines I ever need to do. This is what the remote line plugs into on the bottom there, and then it's a simple on-off switch. So this guy is going to be mounted somewhere up front where the driver can get to it. So there are the 4 wires right there. We just gotta strip them off and insert them into the plug in the same orientation. So if you don't know what color combination that you need for your wires, just check the other end if you're doing this, or just go online, there should be charts. So in my case it should be orange with a white stripe, blue with a white stripe. And now you have to carefully insert it. And then there's going to be a little window up front here at the tip of this plug right there. Make sure that all 4 wires are fed up against the end of this plug right here. Because if not, and you crimp this down, one's missing, well, that's a bad plug. You're going to have to cut it off and start over. This looks good, so let's crimp it down. Here's the crimping tool, and the 4P option is right here, and this is what we're going to be using. Stick it in, give it a good squeeze. And that's all there is to it, really. So a few notes before we wrap up this video. You just saw me wire in a new end, a new plug for this 4-wire phone cable line, remote line. And this is just the remote that goes up to the cabin that we're going to install very soon. But the problem was I had to fish this through the firewall cabin from basically the big white box into the cabin, and I had to cut off one of the ends to do that. Now obviously I need to get a new end on there, so I put on a new end in the same wire order as the one over connecting to the inverter, and turns out that is wrong. When you wire up a new plug, you wire it in the exact reverse order as you see in the orientation of the other end. So that was my problem. I actually figured this out by buying a pre-made cable off the internet just to test to make sure that that remote was working. Turns out it does work, I just had the incorrect wiring. So let's try to take a look at the ends of these wires here. This is a complete pre-made cable that I bought to figure out why the remote wasn't working. So if you look at the ends of these cables right here, you can kind of see that they are exactly opposite of each other in color of the insulator wire. So you can see that black starts in the middle, and then it goes red, green, yellow, and it's same order on the other side. So the problem I was having was I was making this exact same order as you see it on this side, and obviously it turns out that's wrong. So if you're cutting ends for a remote line like this, remember, put the wire on the other end in the exact reverse order like you see here. So to demonstrate that this works, here is the remote that will be up in the cabin. It's currently connected and I have it just snaked outside. So there's a little green LED right here. It's hard to see, but you'll see it. So when this white switch is out, I mean it's off, and when I click it in, you see right there that green LED just lit up right there, and that means power is on. So technically you leave the master switch in the off position. You just turn it on and off through this remote line right here. So if you want power always on regardless of the switch, you just flip that switch on, and now the switch does not do anything. It will remain on until you turn it back off. So there we got it off, and then I can click it on and off with the remote line. So here comes the last remaining part. It's finding a place for this remote somewhere up on the dash over here. It'd be nice to have it somewhere easily accessible, like maybe there, down here possibly, who knows. Just somewhere where the driver can easily reach it and flip it on and off. So to begin, we have it coming through the cabin wall right back here, and then there's a hole right in the back of the seat, so we're going to fish it through that. And next we're going to pull up the factory floor mats and fish it underneath here. We already have a few wires going underneath here, so there's already kind of a little channel. So for now, to adhere it to the dash, we're going to be using some double-sided tape, and we will just be sticking it on, and hopefully that'll stay for a while. We might come up with a more permanent solution later, but that'll do just fine for now. Alright, that feels pretty good. Nice and strong, and I don't think we'll have any issues there. Alright, now I'm just going to do a few minor things like zip tying the wires up here and such, and we'll come back and do a final test. And there we go. Check that out. Nice installed. Push button right there. Wires run. And then back out to the inverter. So here's the final test. We got the power on. You can see right now that the LED is off. We go over to the power button, remote switch, click that on, come back to the inverter, and you can see the light is on, so we have power. Well, that's going to do it for the inverter install, guys. We're just a few days away as of filming this from the EFI trip. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully we'll have those videos up so you can go watch them. It's going to be a ton of fun. Also, as always, check out our rev kit for the ambulance. Link down in the description. Also check out the 1988 Buick Electra rev kit, also down in the description. Got some beautiful pictures of both vehicles. Anyway, this is Bread to Loaf, signing off.